live from Sooke, downtown Sooke, British Columbia. This is Trevor for Saanich, Trevor Barry, running for CRD director, say, of Sooke at least. And there's a lot of other nice areas in and around Sooke. First place I discovered today, India Delight Bistro and Bar. And the second place I discovered was that TD Bank. So let me tell you my story. So, when I ran in 2018, I was my own financial agent, and I will do again this time. It just makes it easier, I think. Yeah. So, of course, I didn't run until the very last minute last time. So I kind of decided I was running, and then I'd used an Indiegogo campaign to raise some money, and some people might remember Indiegogo actually doesn't let you do that if you're a politician, but it wasn't clear, and some interesting things happened where I ended up with none of the donations I thought I had, but people showed up after the fact, and it was fine, and those people are wonderful. However, so I didn't actually go seek out a bank account until after the nomination period had begun in early September, which for Toronto Dominion Bank was what they expected. And I usually bank at TD, and it's the closest place to my house in North Quadra. So anyway, that worked out well last time, given the circumstances of last time. But this time around, of course, I'm already receiving donations and making expenses. And I was concerned that I hadn't had this bank account, because an Elections BC webinar made it quite clear to me that you really needed to have this set up before you did any financial transactions. So I was in touch with Elections BC on a number of occasions, and they let me know not to worry too much about it, because there is this recurring bit of feedback they receive that banks out there expect that you are going to have nomination papers before you can open up a campaign account. But there's no such thing as nomination papers before August 30th. So what does one do to be compliant with Elections BC's requirements? So I asked this of Elections BC, and they provided a PDF file that is basically a note to a bank manager saying, you need to give this person an account so that they're compliant, and you need to do it long before any paperwork that the local jurisdiction, the municipality, might issue. And so I go back in the TD, and here's where the regional economy, 13 municipalities, 1 community, comes in. Because do you think that you can find a person at a bank these days who's not on the phone exclusively, who can help you with a particular thing? They are short-staffed, and they are short specialized staff in person, and some of these things can only be done in person, because my bank wanted me to open a business account, as I had done 4 years ago. So I had an appointment yesterday that turned into an appointment in Langford yesterday, because the person in Saanich couldn't do the job and no one else in Saanich was available. Langford canceled, and so the only chance I had was to go out to Sooke today. And I went out to Sooke today, and the end result of all this was that they could not open me an account because of the nature that we had decided was the appropriate kind after 3 weeks of trying, because I don't have those nomination papers, which of course are impossible to have. So how do I get compliant? So these are the struggles, the real struggles of, especially independent, grassroots, democratic candidates such as myself. So at the end of the day, what the bank advisor out here in Sooke and I came up with was, well, better to have an account than no account at all. They can't open up the type of account I should have, I guess, an election candidate account, which is a type of business account. But what they could do is just give me a brand new checkings account that's, starting with a zero balance and doesn't cost that much a month, and allows you to write the odd check, and unlimited deposits in. So Yeah, 25 transactions a month. So I'm going to go with that. And so 3 weeks of trying my very best to be compliant, and I'm about to be compliant. But with an account that the bank wasn't exactly thrilled to give me, given the nature of what I'm doing with it, but it's their own fault for not really having their own internal processes up to speed with what Elections BC requires. I don't know what it's like for other financial institutions out there. I think the folks that I worked with at TD, at Quadra McKenzie and here in Sooke were fantastic staff members, team players, and really empathetic individuals when it came to the plight that, or the rock and a hard place that I seem to find myself in. So kudos to all those folks. But word to the wise out there, if you haven't opened up your account yet and you feel like you need to, maybe try a different bank than TD to start with, and come in with one of those PDF files. Just Google Elections BC PDF candidate bank account. And there are 3 files, one for a candidate for municipal, one candidate for provincial, and one a nomination candidate for a leadership contest. Obviously the municipal is the hardest one to find, but it's the one that you need. And if your bank accepts that as being helpful, great. If not, then hey, at least you know one guy who's trying his best is just opening up a plain old checking account. So there you go. It's not easy to be on the right side of the law, but you got to try your best. From Sooke, driving away in my Sun Country now charged electric vehicle. Yep, just about fully charged for the ride home in afternoon Friday of a long weekend traffic. Trevor out.